Hi, I'm Alex Tross, Commercial Director.
Hi, I'm Alex McCormack, Head of New Homes and Investments.
Today we're going to be talking to you about residential versus commercial investment and the pros and cons. One key thing about investing in commercial property is that leases tend to be longer than those in residential. Despite the market wanting more flexibility, you're typically going to get at least 3 years on a lease, perhaps even more. Depending on scale, it could be 5, 10 or even 15-year commitment. Returns are also typically higher in the commercial setting, but again, that depends on scale. One of the key benefits of commercial investment is that rents are reviewed on typically a 5-yearly cycle. The good news is that those rents can typically only go up because there's an upwards only clause in most rent reviews, which means that your income is protected as a commercial landlord. Lastly, the legal protection can often be greater in a commercial setting because at expiry of the lease, the tenant is obligated to put the space back into a lettable condition, either by a settlement or doing the works themselves.
Firstly, and most importantly, everybody needs a home, whether that be a city centre apartment or a house in the suburbs. With increasing population and a shortage of property, tenant demand has never been higher, resulting in shorter void periods for landlords. Since the pandemic and the rise of hybrid working, we're finding tenants are looking for larger spaces in order to work from home. Residential property is also seen as a stable investment while also benefiting from capital growth.
So in terms of some of the cons, it can often be much more expensive to invest in commercial property than perhaps a single dwelling in a resi setting. Also, demand for resi is typically more sustained and it can be much more volatile when looking at commercial property. In offices in particular, we saw the impact of COVID on office demand, and that has to be something you factor in when thinking about a commercial purchase. Also, if you buy at scale, you often have to manage a number of tenants, which can be quite labour intensive, certainly much more involving than perhaps one family. And lastly, whilst location is always really important, it can differ vastly in commercial from one side of the street to the other.
So, the cons for residential investment. Well, our leases are shorter, 6 to 12 months, which means you could be looking for a new tenant more regularly than you would like. Tenants are generally in the property 24/7, which means there's a higher chance of wear and tear, resulting in more maintenance costs come the end of their tenancy agreement. Most importantly, most lenders will be looking for a minimum of 25% down payment, which means your upfront costs are going to be higher.
So we've talked through some of the pros and cons of investing in commercial or residential property. The most important thing, however, is that you get advice before you make that purchase.
For more information, please do not hesitate to contact Centric.